Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we are breaking down our picks for the top 5 and one worst, level 8. There it is, level 8 Druid Spells.
Okay. It's a little bit more of a struggle than I would hope it to be.
My image is the opposite, so I'm always, That's why I always point the wrong way when I
Gotcha.
introduce you.
That sounds right.
Uh,
Anyway, so yeah, these are the top of the almost top of the top Druid options. These are, you can prepare them because you're a prepared caster. That's important. Another big important element of Druids, you take concentration as a major part of your kit. So like they like concentrating on big summon stuff. So they're going to take concentration, directly compete with that, and you don't love doing that, right? If you've got a Conjure Woodland Beings that's already taken over the game, you don't necessarily want to take another option that you can't cast alongside that Conjure Woodland Beings if you're at that kind of table, right? The same kind of goes for like a cast Summon Beast or whatever. All Druid spells that all the summon effects level to be upcast to the extra attacks. So like at an 8th level, Summon Beast gets 4 attacks around. That's pretty good still. So like it's not as good as Conjure Woodland Beings or Conjure Animals or anything like that, but it's still a very fair, powerful thing that's good before the slot, which means it's going to compete with whatever else we're working with here if they also take your concentration. Big caveat number 1.
That caveat is a little bit less relevant here in the upper tiers because there's so few spells to choose from.
And you also get, like,
it is relevant when you're taking the one you want. That's but true. When you're doing a top 5 list, we're covering pretty much all of them. I'm guessing.
I think we're probably talking about every single one of these today. I don't think it might be similar, but I wasn't confident in my bottom 3. So
you know what? I thought that about the last list, and we were like toe to toe with all of them except for our worst. All right, caveat number 2, Sam picks his in order. I just picked my 5 favorites and the ones I think are cool. And no particular order. All right, I think it's your turn to go first this time, Sam.
All right, I'll start with my number 1. It's the most busted option you get as Druid. I love this spell so much. God, it's so much fun. If you're ever... Listen, DMs out there. If a player says I want to play with animal shapes, take them here. Show them our other animal shapes video. Because my god, animal shapes is really, really busted and will lead to some super fun encounters that are really good to do like once. You probably don't want to do them every time. It can kind of take over the game. But like animal shapes, you find a bunch of villagers and you go, hey, are you fed up with Strahd? Are you tired of being bullied by these undead? What if you were giant scorpions instead? That'll probably make it better, right? And then you get them all, you turn them into voles or whatever, you turn them into eagles, you fly over the castle, you dig down in as little burrowing creatures, you get underneath the big bad, you pop out, and then you just snap your fingers. They're all giant scorpions, and whoever was there is now a giant mess of torn apart shreds from the multi-attacking 3 attacks each giant scorpions from the however many villagers you could fit within 30 feet of you bucket. So, it's really cheesy. It's really fun. Fair use cases of it. It's a big exploration tool, too, that you can get the whole party to get basically any sense of any beast that's CR4 or lower, which is a huge amount of senses and move speeds and options, right? Like, this is mass fly, this is mass swim, this is mass climb, this is mass blind sight, this is mass dark vision. It is all of those things interchangeably that you can flexibly flip on and off over and over again, switch everyone around to different things. And that's the fair use case for it. And I still think it probably would deserve the top slot, just the fair use case. But the unfair stuff is just so busted, I can't not rave about it. It's so much fun.
I don't think anyone ever had any intention of this spell being used fair use.
I think you're probably right.
It's got all of my favorite words. It's got choose any number of willing creatures.
Those are great words.
Yes. It's got up to 24 hours.
Sure does.
And you can do this over and over again, right? You transform they're.
The target assumes the hit points of its new form. It always does. So you can you can just keep flipping it over again to give them more hit points. As long as excess damage is reduced.
There was we made that mistake in the original one. There was something in there about the hit points.
It reverses as a result, dropping to 0. As long as the X damage is reduced to 0, it can't be knocked unconscious. I think there was a different spell, I believe, that this didn't work with. I think it was like True Polymorph or something. Something that or Mass Polymorph or one of those ones. One of the 9th level ones lets you switch to your form over and over again. I don't believe works. But this one says the target assumes the hit points of its new form, and when it reverts to its normal form, it returns to the number of hit points it had before transform. If it resorts as a result of dropping to 0, any excess points carry over. But then you can still just use your action to transform them over and over again. So
yeah, there was never any normal use intent for this spell.
No, none whatsoever.
And consequently, this did indeed make my list. So we are 1 for 1.
And again,
Animal
commenters, if I
shapes.
miss something, if I'm wrong, if someone on Twitter, please let me know.
Have no fear, they will.
Great. But even in that use case, getting one round of 40 giant scorpions ripping a big bad to shreds, delicious. Love it. 3/4 of the attacks can miss and it still dies. It's great. You'll kill it on crits alone.
Good times. Animal shapes. All right. I guess that means it's my turn. Let me dig up my little list here. All right, that one's done. All right, I'll get this one out of the way. I picked Feeble Mind.
Feeble Mind is my number 5.
Oh, you did pick it. All right. I know you don't like it.
I don't like it.
But it is powerful. And I was thinking, we're at the point in the game we're casting level 8 spells. Yeah, to be able to take a spellcaster out effectively is super powerful. Like, it's got an int save, so maybe it's not as effective against wizards, but there's plenty of other spellcasters that you would be happy to turn off.
A lot of villainous supporting spellcasters in particular will be charisma based. They'll be warlocks devoted to whatever you're fighting, or sorcerers that are like, within the bloodline of some ancient draconic evil Tiamat entity, right? So you're going to see the charisma casters are going to be a common upper tier enemy comparatively. I mean, the Red Wizards, to say obviously this is almost dead against, but like, sure.
And there's upper tier. There's also clerics. That's you might be up against the evil cleric, or you might be evil going up against a good cleric.
Sure, maybe
if
we're
like using your Feeble Mind. There's a good chance you're evil.
That's true. I still appreciate that one of your favorite use cases is just being spiteful, right? Just like being at the bar one evening and you're a bard that's just like that dumbass in the corner. He's been irritating me all night. You're an idiot now. You just Feeble Mind them, and their life is functionally over. And it's really cruel, but it is very petty. And it sounds like the kind of thing where like a jerk evil bard would do. Yeah, we had that.
I mean, I believe you. I just need to go back and watch our Feeble Mind video, and so should you.
Oh, agreed. Yes. I ultimately find that it isn't that great just because, on a player character sheet, its use cases are a lot worse because there's fewer things that it relevantly hits. But and a lot of times the thing you'd want it to hit will use legendary resistance just because like, okay, fine, I'll trade my legendary resistance for your 8th level slot and be fine with that deal. One of my legendary resistances normally, if we're looking at this tier, right? Against specifically non-int based caster characters, or even int based caster characters that have a much lower int than you, which is going to often be the case if you're against like middling lieutenant based casters, then it's probably where it's at its best. Because if you use it on a like a dragon turtle, now it's just an angry dumb dragon turtle, and that doesn't really change how it feels about you nor how it's going to act. So it's limited cast options, and how brutal it is against players makes me really hate it. That being said, like you said, it is a powerful effect against a very small, well, not a very small, but a limited subset of enemies that I'm like, okay, against those specific enemies, I would prepare for it, maybe.
All right. Well, that puts us 2 for 2.
Yeah, it's true. My next one is one I don't know if it's going to make your list or not. I think I might be too high on this, but that being said, it does something that I don't think many of the other ones do. Like the rest of the ones on my list, I'm like, I can do that with lower level.
This one didn't make my list.
Yeah, it's Earthquake. I think Earthquake is... I like that we've done enough of these that we can tell by just the context setup that you know exactly what spell I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, when you said it does something not a lot, I remembered our Earthquake video, which you should go watch now. It's running theme.
We got most of these. I mean, one day Bob's gonna start putting them like just linked down in the video description. It's gonna be really great for engagement.
I really should do that. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. Anyway, so yeah, Earthquake is... What it does is it takes a bunch of structures and it levels them, right? So it takes anything that has a small enough amount of hit points, that small enough is like less than 500, and collapses them over the course of a minute. It's got a 500-foot range, which means that you can do it from a fair distance out, like a whole football field plus, and you can just be like, I don't like the evil big bad slayer. I don't want to go through all your traps. I'm going to drop it to the ground instead and make you come to me. And that is a real ability that lower level spells can't really do. And whenever I'm casting 8th level spells, I want to have options to do things that other spells can't. The rest of this list, including Feeble Mind, I'm like, that's a saber die. I have other saber dies. I can do other powerful things that'll make people forced to use legendary resistance without even spending 8th level slot, right? If I polymorph the big bad, they definitely want to save out of that. So they're going to burn a legendary resistance there, whereas Feeble Mind is just doing the exact same thing, and like the outcomes, if it happens, is roughly the same at the end of the day. So that's where I'm like, Earthquake at least. If I know I'm going into a circumstance where I want to bring rubble and ruin to a city, to a portion of a city, to a fortress, to a town, to any large amount of space, this is a spell that I want in my back pocket.
Yeah, it's not bad. I don't know why I'm so down on it, but I don't know, still doesn't get me excited.
It's not great in combats. It's going to be difficult to use in some situations. It's not a spell that I'm casting every single session.
I do remember. Yeah, because I want to kill them and then take their property.
Yeah, and you can't take the property if it's you can take the property. There won't be any buildings on it at the end of the earthquake.
Yeah.
I think I might be a little bit too high on this. I haven't actually seen it in play.
Cast a shitload of mending spells.
3 years later, after spending however many minutes mending as needed, you got a pristine tower again. And then the druid goes, "Oh wait, hold on. There's an evil cracked mirror in there that we have to destroy." And then you go, "Wait, no!" And the earthquake again. And you have a great time. That sounds lovely.
Oh, all right. All right. You're talking about spells that do things no other spells do. I chose, what's it called? Antipathy, Sympathy.
It's my number 3.
Oh, you chose that one. I'm surprised.
I don't like the rest of this list. Evil Mind making an appearance at all, I think, should be an indicator like, oh, wow, Sam really does not like what's happening here.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said in our Antipathy video, Sympathy video, which you should go watch now. Yeah, it's just the thing where you can just put something high on a mountain and it's got that text. Anyone that can see it, it affects. And that's another one of those, like animal shapes, any number of creatures that gives it high marks from me.
Have we ever talked about the cast time?
I don't know.
Would you like to read the cast time for the class?
Yeah, it's 1 hour. That's
sure is.
This is not an in combat spell.
Read, but it's even like if you're getting sieged, you got an hour to prep. Okay. It lasts 10 days, I guess. That kind of helps.
I'm talking about setting fire inside your moat and then like putting this at the top of the tallest spire on the palace and having all the orcs and stuff just randomly walk into your fire mode.
There are a couple of issues with that, namely like the angle of vision, right? Because the moment they get an object in between, like let's say there's a tall wall, which I would assume there would be on a city. If it approaches the tall wall and that breaks vision with the thing, it's no longer sympathy.
Well, you plan for that.
So you got to make sure it's really, really, really tall. Like I think this is the kind of thing where you get an airship, like a Goodyear blimp, and you rent that out, and that's what you sympathy. And you just have someone sitting up there on the sympathy blimp that's making everyone walk towards it.
All right, fine. You got an hour. Plan for it.
Sure. I'm talking myself out of having this be on the top 5. I really don't think it's that good. I think it's interesting conceptually.
That's just half of it. That's the sympathy half. Then there's the like you clear out a town so that you can, yeah, like everybody in the village go away for a little while because I'm gonna take all your stuff.
Everyone in the village go away from a point that you can see and have a clear line on.
Right.
Where this stops working.
You cast it on the big church bell.
Okay, then
ring, ring, ring. They all look up. Crap! I'm gonna go away now.
Sure, assuming this also is all conditional on they fail a single save. If they pass a save, this has no text to them, right?
I don't know. I haven't read this in a while.
Yeah.
All right, but
I'm talking myself out of this. I wish I didn't put this here.
I didn't. Yeah, you weren't.
It
too
also
keen
only
on
affects
it
a
in the video.
specific kind of creature, right? Like this
Yeah,
isn't.
that's true.
So like, if you do it in the town hall, it just has to be a homogenous species, right? Like it's all humans, or it's all gnomes, or it's all kobolds, or whatever.
Yeah, it's not foolproof, but I think it's got some fun uses.
That's it.
I'm really
struggling to see an actual use. Like I can envision times where I'd want Earthquake. I can visibly see and remember adventures where Earthquake would have done something. I'm having a very difficult time envisioning a real encounter where I'd have the ability to set this up in a meaningful fashion.
All right, you put this on your list. Why?
I don't know. I talked myself out of it. This is trash.
I know, but
maybe
you had some kind of reason when you did it.
Yeah, my initial reasoning was like, oh, you put it on some high point, everything runs at you. You kind of talked me into that. Now I'm thinking about the logistics of that happening. It just seems so far fetched.
Yeah.
Rent a blimp. All right, in the case that you rent a blimp, I'm into it.
All right. Yeah, all right, fine. You'll rent a blimp. Or you can. I mean, there's other things you can do. Look,
Like what?
I don't know. Just put it. I mean, the spire can be super high. And the
So you
walls
just
aren't
get
that high.
a really long pole. You just
Yeah,
like
whatever.
really stick it up there, and
You
it's just
are
waffling
focused
around
on
in
the
the
wrong
wind.
thing here.
It only makes one creature. Sure. I don't think it's great. I think if you're against a homogenous army of exactly orcs and they all can always see the exact point you're putting it on, that's pretty cool. That's pretty neat use
And
case.
I'm not talking. It doesn't have to defeat the whole army. If there's an army of orcs and goblins and hobgoblins, and it just takes out most of the orcs, I'm okay with that for an 8th level spell.
Yeah, I can envision if you can get the spell to do that. I agree. I think getting the spell to do that is the first big hurdle that I'm unconvinced will occur. But maybe I'm wrong. I definitely don't have certainty to say this is awful. This is a big question mark, puzzle, head scratching spell to be is how you make this good. And you seem to be a lot more. You think this has a lot more potential than I do. That doesn't mean that it isn't good. I've seen this cast, so commenters, let me know how far off base am I, or is Bob?
Okay. Yes. All right. What do you got?
I don't like to admit it, but I have Tsunami here just
I
because
got
it's really
Tsunami.
fun.
So we are what, 3 for 4?
That's 4 for 5, isn't it?
4 for 5? Are we there yet? Yes.
That's my
Okay.
whole. This is my number
Oh,
4 of
that's
my
it.
whole list. Yeah,
All right. Yeah, I got Tsunami. All right. What do you like about Tsunami?
it's 300 feet tall.
You could put an antipathy sympathy on top of that.
And you'll get 6 rounds of it. So you get
Have
like
a surfer with a big reflecting disc or something.
yeah, sure, I love that. Maybe if you can move around the antipathy to sympathy thing. Yeah, maybe you have something that's able to carry around a huge or smaller object and be like, ha, and you like run at the enemies and they have to run away from it. That could be cute.
All
Anyway,
right, back to Tsunami.
300 feet long, 300 foot wide. It's just a really fun, gigantic area, and it's 50 feet thick. Now, I'm gonna level with you. I have no idea how I'd run this as a DM. Like, absolutely no clue where I would start trying to figure out how the Tsunami works, especially in just like any environment where there's stuff. If there's stuff, I don't know what the Tsunami does to the stuff. Does it just pass through it? Is this like ethereal water? Does it carry things into the stuff? Does it bring the buildings with it? Is it doing damage to these things? Does it auto break things down? I don't know. I'd have to figure it out on the fly. Does it work in environments that don't allow a 300-foot water thing to exist in? Maybe like you've got 150-foot ceilings. This doesn't fit in that space. So what happens? Is this only usable in the White Room? But it's a fun space. It's a fun area. It does a neat little effect where it like drags things with it that sounds potentially cool. Has this ever been play tested? Does it not function at all? I think it's nifty though.
Yeah, I chose it because it's got a pretty good area, does some damage, does another effect, moves creatures away from me. And yeah, that I like that. There are options on this list that are just damage. I like damage plus something else.
That's exactly what this is. It's not great damage, but it is
No,
some
and
damage.
it's not an amazing something else. I mean, moving a bunch of creatures away from you could be just what you need at a given time.
Yeah, 50 feet at a time too. There's like the neat problem where this is really effective against things that can't get out of this in 2 turns. So if you have something that has no swim speed and has a speed of 30, it dashing puts it not all the way out of this, but next turn dashing it will. So like you're in this kind of weird spot where this is you're going to be really struggling, I think, even in the situation where it's castable to get something to stay in it for 3 rounds for more than 11d10 damage. That being said, 11d10 in a 100-foot move that's a good thing. Like, that's just like, okay, 11d10 damage to this whole wall of things. Like, if we're talking about killing an army, I think I would take this in the big open siege over Antipathy Sympathy, just because like I know consistently that this is going to smash a whole bunch of them for a truckload of damage.
Well, it depends on what kind of plan I had for Antipathy Sympathy.
That's fair.
And how much real time I invested into thinking up that plan.
Oh, right. And the other issue is this is a minute cast time. God, there's some really dookie 8th level Druid spells. Cast time of a minute on this. Why?
Yeah, I don't know. That's what do they intend this for? I mean, it's a combat spell. I mean, you don't do this on a.
It only lasts 6 rounds. Yeah.
Yeah.
It literally takes longer to cast than it exists.
I don't know.
It's like Earthquake, I guess, and like you specifically like maybe my initial question of how does this interact with structures is the exact use case for it. but then Earthquake's just better than it.
Guess this might be one of those siege things where like the army isn't attacking it, but they're
Or
camped
they are attacking
outside.
and you just commit a minute during their attack to
Yeah.
do this.
Yeah, I guess in a huge war, then you can do that. But
I want to take
that
it.
could be really cool, though.
I'm calling an audible. I'm taking this off my list. This is trash. Minute cast time is too bad. I didn't read the minute cast time when I looked over it again, and I was like, 300 towers is super cool. No, it's garbage. Get this off my list. I changed my mind. I have a new pick, Bob.
Uh-oh.
Well,
Before you say that, I also didn't look at the minute cast time, but I don't feel like picking another one, so
Okay.
this is staying on my list.
Sure. Sounds good.
What's your actual pick then?
My number 6 would be Incendiary Cloud, because at least that has an action cast time. So I think it's worth Tsunami if they both took an action, but this doesn't take a minute. If Tsunami takes a minute to cast, this doesn't. So I can actually regularly use this. And if you ever get 20d8 damage out of it, it's great. The problem is just like getting that 20d8 damage out of it isn't given, and it's kind of tricky. But like if you're doing the concentration build where you're like trying to pull things into a space that's dealing damage, okay, I'll take Incendiary Cloud on that. That seems fun.
It does. It's got that weird movement thing.
Yeah. That's normally net negative for you, and it's dispersed by at least a 10-mile-an-hour wind, which is a bummer.
Yeah, if anybody's got like a gust of wind or something, or just straight up gust, then goodbye Incendiary Cloud.
Yeah.
But how does that movement work again? And let's see.
When the cloud appears, each creature makes dex save. The cloud moves 10 feet directly away from you in a direction that you choose the start of each of your turns.
Okay, that's not that bad. I don't think this is the one I was thinking of with like the really weird movement.
I think it works in a similar fashion to Cloud Kill, which is like it blows cloud out and moves around. There's also, okay, I will say this for it. There's this cute interaction where if you're really fast, if you outrun this thing, you can run circles around it to move it around to specific places. So you can like keep it in one spot by just navigating quickly, which is pretty fun. Like you can even like use this as a reaction, turn to a bird, and then steer it that way. That could be a fun way to like suffocate a room full of villains. Sure. Or heroes if you're the evil guy in that moment.
Yeah, this one definitely I considered it, but ultimately I liked the other ones better. So this did not make my list.
I'm not gonna get over that Tsunami's got a minute cast time. It's gonna be stuck in my head for the rest of this video.
Yeah, that might have if I was paying attention, that might have changed my mind then. But nope.
Sure isn't gonna do it now.
Yeah.
All right, do you have any left, or are we down to our
no, I've got one more.
with it.
I got Sunburst.
That's my next runner-up.
That's your next runner-up. Yeah, again, damage plus effect. It blinds creatures for a minute.
I'm incapable of getting excited about a 12d6 damage 8th level spell.
Well, it's damage and blindness.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, that excites me more than it does you.
Like this is less damage than Fireball, and that's a 3rd level spell. You can also cast as a 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th level slot as well. Like I'm kidding. Maybe my 8th level slot to a minute blind and less than Fireball damage. Like I don't. Especially if my radius is really big.
It's mass blinding.
It also doesn't take concentration. That's a big upside to it.
Well, it's instantaneous.
Yeah, so like not taking concentration is great for
right,
other concentration effects.
Yeah. Okay.
And it has a decent duration too, so like yeah, sure, maybe.
Yeah. So that was my justification for putting that on the list, and I'm fine with it. I understand not everybody cares about blindness. I think if you've got it's a 60-foot radius, which is pretty huge, and if you've got a lot of enemies that you want blind, this could be effective. Like,
this is
all right, doesn't do great damage, but you gotta take into consideration the amount of extra damage you're going to be doing because they can't see.
That's fair. The also amount of damage is mitigating because they can't see, right? Those are both two giant factors to it. It does hit most of a battle map, right? Like this is going to hit most of the things you want to hit with it. All that's big upside for it. I think of the list, this is probably the one that like there are the most encounters I'd expect Sunburst to be regularly fine. I think even more so than my top 5 that I'm going to stick with over this. I think you're likely to get more casts out of Sunburst out of an average table than the rest of them, but I think its impact on the game is a lot lower than all of the other options we're talking about, right? Like even the Feeble Mind, Feeble Mind does something that no other spell does. Sunburst does what a Fireball does, and it does what a Color Spray does. And I don't like I don't think either of those are particularly that high impact. Again, that being said, that's my criteria for these. I don't think this has as much as a game-shaping impact, but it is very castable. It's like I could envision myself as a druid going, okay, I know what I'm concentrating on. I'm just going to stick Sunburst on my sheet and not worry about it because I know I can regularly cast it. I don't have to prepare it for any environments. I don't need Earthquake right now. I know my DM doesn't want to do the animal shapes nonsense. Fine, Sunburst it is.
It does what color spray does. Color spray, no, it does.
I got your goat with that one.
Huh?
I got your goat with that one. You were like,
You
I
got
can't
my
get to color
goat.
spray. I sometimes have the isms of like a 70-year-old man, but here we are.
All right. Well, here we are. We are both finished our top 5 lists.
Yeah, we talked about 7 spells.
All right. What was
They're
your list?
level 8 druid spells.
So does that mean we both have the same?
Sure does.
Okay. All right, go over your list first.
Okay, my number 1 is Animal Shape. Number 2 is Earthquake. Number 3 is Antipathy, Sympathy, which I'm like, on, I don't know, maybe. And I've moved Feeble Mind to my number 4 because I bumped off Tsunami because it's hot trash, and then Incendiary Cloud is my number 5.
All right, and I chose Feeble Mind, Sunburst, Antipathy, Sympathy, Tsunami, and Animal Shapes. And I suppose that leaves only one spell left for both of our worst, and that is Control Water. Yeah, Control Weather, sorry.
Yeah.
Um,
Boy, what a bad 8th level spell.
I mean, this is like one of those things, like if you had it in real life, you could be the most powerful person in the world. But in D&D, it's raining now. Oh, it's cold.
It takes so long for this to do anything. It takes concentration for no good reason. It, like, you have to go through various stages to change. Like, if it's clear skies and you want it to be raining, it takes at least 50 minutes to get there, right? At least. Because it's a D4 times 10 for the new condition per stage to get affected, right? So, like, if you start on stage 1 and you need to get to stage 5, you roll a D4 4 times and multiply that by 10. That is how many minutes it's going to take, which is forever. That is so long to get any amount of change. It takes 10 minutes to cast. And then you're right in saying, is the change worth it? No, it's not. Like, at this stage of the game, we're teleporting places. We got magic, we got circle of teleportation, we got teleport, we got plane shift, we've got way better means of moving around. Transport via plants here at this tier. You don't, like...
But this isn't a teleporting spell, Sam.
I know, but it's a navigation spell. It's a spell that you would use as part of the long distance travel across the map to say, I'm going to have control weather up, and I'm not going to deal with the torrential hail, and I'm not going to deal with the unbearable heat. I'm just going to be like, all right, it's a nice, comfy temperature for the whole journey. That's entirely fluff at this point. It hasn't been a challenge since the early tiers.
That's not anywhere close to what I was thinking to use it for. But I guess that's another, I was thinking, grow crops or, make this desert fertile or whatever. I don't know. I mean,
sure.
That's why it's at the bottom of my list. That's why it's my worst. I don't really know what to use it for in a D&D setting.
I think this spell would be really interesting if it was a ritual spell. I really dig this conceptually as something that is just a passive thing powerful druids specifically can use. Like, take it off wizard, take it off cleric. They're not the nature spirits here. Let's be a druid 8th level ritual spell. And then we're talking about at least it doesn't ever cost you anything to use it, but it lets you definitely embody the Arc Druid fantasy of controlling the weather. It's always the exact perfect temperature and climate, 5 miles around wherever you are. It's how you'd like it to be. You gotta remove concentration from it for that to also factor in, but I think there could be some interesting directions for there to be a big environmental changing effect at a relatively easy point to get for these high-level casters. If I'm ever spending a spell slot on this, I'm disappointed. And you have to spend spell slots on this. So, yeah. I think it's completely useless. It's near completely useless. It's trash. It's bad. It's awful.
I don't hate it that much. I just don't know what I'd do with it.
Very little. You can make it. You can make it driving hail.
Yay!
You can make it an Arctic storm that has driving hail.
Yay!
Because you get to do like the different modes if you wanted to. You can also make it unbearably calm, winded heat. You can mix and match. You can have it be like overcast, cool, moderate winds. I don't know. All of the tiers that aren't the ends are really boring. Like, if it's cold, cool, warm, or hot, that's all just fine. None of that matters, right?
You could exacerbate forest fires.
Yeah, but then you would do unbearable heat.
I was thinking something with the wind, but
Oh,
yeah, whatever.
moderate wind to gale. Sure. I think this spell's really boring, and I think that's a sin for an 8th level spell.
But yeah, if you got any ideas, audience, well, how do you use this spell? We did this video already, right? Control
We talk
weather?
about control weather every time we talk about bad 8th level spells, so probably. So maybe, I don't know.
All right, if we did, go watch that video now. All right, that was that. Control weather, ho hum. Got anything else to say?
This list is stinky except for animal shapes.
I don't know. I still like antipathy, sympathy.
I
And
don't.
Sunburst.
I think I would take it off for Sunburst if I did this again.
And I like Sunburst too. Oh man, that minute cast time kills me for Tsunami. But,
Tsunami just becomes so much less interesting
yeah,
whenever you
Waddle
take us
like
a minute to cast and lasts 6 or 36 seconds. Like, what?
all right,
Just
all right.
concentration too?
Here you go.
What?
You're getting sharpshootered. Like you guys are trying to hide, but there's a bunch of guys sharpshootering you, and you can't get to them. So you just have to like bide your time for a minute while your druid casts Tsunami, and you sweep them all away.
So here's a problem with that. Sharpshooter has outrageous range, and this
Yeah.
definitely only goes 300 feet.
Oh yeah. All right, forget it. All right,
Okay.
that's enough. We talked about it. You don't like it. I don't like it as much as I did.
I
that
had it
was
on my
our-
list too. I'm
Yeah.
disappointed.
You had antipathy, sympathy on your list.
And I'm disappointed with that too, Bob.
All right. All right, that was 8th level Druid Spells. Tune in next time for level 9 Druid Spells. So we'll close it up and go back and watch all of our other Druid Spells, levels 0 through 7, and our Bard spells, and our Cleric spells, and our Wizard spells, and whatever spells we do in the future. Until then, see you next time. Bye-bye. And go like and subscribe and all that. Bye. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it, a gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description, where you'll find my Caverns Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of the spell, and other fun things.